Good morning. So this word today didn't necessarily come from the Lord giving it to me per se. It came more from me like having a realization, like an epiphany, I guess. I guess like an epiphany. So there's a channel, okay, on YouTube, and of course, as we know, I don't name specific names, but there's a channel on YouTube that I listen to, okay, and this gentleman's channel is very inspirational. He's very good at what he does. He's very inspirational and encouraging. And so you might hear the water running in just a second. And he put out a word, okay, so I've been subscribed to him for over a year now. He'll come on his channel and put out motivational messages. They're short, they're like 10 minutes or less, but motivational and encouraging messages. And because of his profession, he's not able to be on YouTube every single day. Like YouTube is not his main provider, his main, position in life. It's not the main thing that he's doing, right? He also has a career that he puts the majority of his focus on. And but when he does come on his channel, sometimes he takes these like 3-4 month breaks. So he'll come on strong, post pretty much daily for about 2-3 months straight. Then he's gone again for another 3 or 4 months due to his career. Then he comes back on, repeat, does a couple more videos, goes back off, etc. And he even freely admits, he says, well, I'm busy with my career and I got lots of things on the go. So it's like he had one door open for him and he's opened another and another and another. He's unlocked several doors that were closed in his life. And that's not just my assessment, that's what he himself says. He says, I wasn't always this way. It's taken me years, but I've managed to, over time, unlock doors in my mind that the enemy had closed. So I just found that very encouraging, and I understand what he's talking about. He says he's a chosen one, and he is a chosen one. So the Lord led me, I've been subscribed, but the Lord led me to his videos again, and I've been watching them again since he's resurfaced. And the Lord had me tune into the one this morning that he put out about that, and about basically knowing the enemy's plays, right? And the Lord then from there developed a word for me that he wanted me to put out today on my channel. So I talk about this too, about the enemy, and like I say, it's very important to know how the enemy moves, okay? It's absolute key. Now, in the past, I've put out words about this saying, that I know how the enemy moves. So because I've done that, the enemy's worked very hard to try to get me to scramble things up so that I don't know how the enemy moves. It's like the enemy's like, oh, Amanda, you called me out. You know how I move? Well, let me do these ABC things to try to make it so you don't know how I move. But it doesn't work. So with this channel, every time he leaves and he comes back, he's either still elevated on where he was previously, or he's elevated even higher, right? So he's on his channel with fire. He leaves for whatever amount of time. He comes back, he's still on fire. Then he leaves for whatever amount of time. He comes back, he's still on fire. So his fire never gets put out, no matter how much. And he talked about how the enemy goes against him. But it's because he's unlocked the secret of how the enemy moves in his life, because the enemy uses the same plays. The Lord has only allowed the enemy the same 10-15 cards to play. That's the thing. The Lord plays with infinite hands, infinite possibilities, right? The enemy has a stacked deck. The enemy can only play with a limited amount of cards. And that's how the Lord has it designed. So the enemy will try and play his same stale hand over and over and over again. And that's why I always say the Lord plays chess and the enemy plays checkers, is because it takes actual strategy and skill to play chess. A 5-year-old could play checkers, right? So it's very basic and simple in comparison to chess. So the enemy only gets to ever play checkers. And how long would it take an average individual to figure out and how to beat and navigate and win every time on checkers. Now, of course, it's still a game of chance, right? There's still a chance to it because you can't predict the future, so you can't predict exactly what card the enemy's going to play next week or next month. But if you play checkers every day for years and years, you're going to get so good at it that you're going to start to anticipate the move that your opponent is going to make before they make it, right? But with chess, there's not always that ability, right? So that's the thing. So what the enemy will do is he knows that you're on to him, and this guy's channel, the enemy knows that he's on to him as well. But yet the enemy's limited because the enemy can only use those specific plays, and he knows that. So what he will do is he will try to lay low and wait for the perfect opportunities to play these cards. So for instance, or these checker moves. So for instance, say one of his stale old cards is to try to, make you feel depressed, or to make you feel oppressed, or to make you feel like you're in lack or poverty, right? Well, he'll play his lack poverty card, but you already know that he's playing it. So because you fell in the trap in the past, you have navigated your way around that. You've mastered that move. So you've already went ahead in anticipation and, put some money in your savings, or you went and got a second job, or some sort of supplement income. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. Or you went and did your income taxes early. Like, you somehow anticipated that because of all the past experience, so you moved accordingly. So then the enemy, it doesn't work out how he wants, and then he's defeated. But instead of taking the defeat, what he will do is put that card off to the side and go, well, I can't play that card right now because they peeped my hand and they went and figured out some finances. So I'm going to put that as to the side, and then I'm going to play the card of causing drama and chaos between them and their partner, or between them and their family members. Now, say if you sense that coming, so then you go ahead and you just not cut off your partner, but you put some distance between you and your partner, or distance between you and your family. Well, and then the enemy's not successful because he wanted to cause all this dramatic outcome between you and your family. But you peeped that because of your past experience, so you went and put distance between you and those people. So now the enemy can't achieve what he wanted, which was discord and drama. So then he puts that card down. Then he's like, well, I'm going to play the card of sickness. I'm going to give them some sort of sickness. But you've already peeped that. So because of that, you've been resting better, working out, taking vitamins, drinking more water, you know what I mean? Things like that. Because of the past, when you did fall into it, you got sick. So you've already been like, man, I got to keep up on my health. So you've been navigating that way. So then the enemy's like, well, I can't play that. So he's consistently trying to find a play. But again, he only has those same basic 10, 15 cards. And they look like sickness. They look like drama. They look like poverty. They look like anger. You know what I mean? He has these same stale old cards, and he's been playing them in all of our lives, pretty much all since we were little kids, right? Now, if you're chosen, he's been trying to play these cards in your life since you were born, right? He's been trying to get you all along. Now, this channel, this gentleman knows that he's chosen and that the enemy's been doing that. So what he does is when the enemy's trying to send bullets at him, like the enemy does via these different ways, like I just talked about, he goes off his channel and goes and focuses on other things, right? Until he's regrouped, re-strategized, like I just explained, tried to stay 2 steps ahead of every move. Then he comes back on and he's realigned. He's got his fire still under him, still burning, right? The Lord was saying it's the same thing with myself and with others. True chosen ones may have to go away for a little while, and the timing is dependent. I mean, this guy's went off for 3-4 months before, right? I subscribe to other channels that are true chosen ones. They've had to go away for 2-3 months as well, right? I've even seen people gone for 7 or 8 months. So it can be viewed as, oh, the enemy won. Look, they've went into hiding. They've went under, whatever. No, absolutely not. It's actually the opposite. They're busy winning against the enemy. A true chosen one doesn't spend their whole entire time online posting videos, staying on the up and up. A true chosen one is consistently, truly having to fight the enemy at all times, 24/7. The enemy never sleeps, so therefore you can't either. Now, you still need to sleep because you're human and he knows that, but even when you're sleeping, he's attacking your dream state, all right? So there's never that saying no rest for the wicked, it really means there's no rest for the wicked. They don't rest. But you being a chosen one, you're not wicked, so therefore you do rest. And the enemy knows that, so he tries to take advantage of you during these resting times. So if you yourself are chosen, you know you are, and you find yourself having to take these time out, so to speak, and regroup, re-strategize, realign, just know that that doesn't prove you're not chosen. That actually proves that you are chosen. Because true chosen ones have to do that because they consistently have to. It's like some people can take hours to make a chess move. Chess isn't a quick game. They don't start playing at 5 and they're done by 5:15. Checkers is a fairly quick game, but not chess. So because it would take me 20 minutes to make a chess move, that means I've lost. Do you see what I'm saying? So just because you're having to take some time out as a chosen one from things, you're having to put some distance between you and a loved one, or take some days off from work, or you have a platform, whether it's on TikTok or YouTube or whatever, and you speak on the Word of God and positive, encouraging, motivational messages like this gentleman, you're a chosen one. The Lord has deemed you tested and proven to go out and do your thing for others, to teach the masses and speak to the masses. If you find yourself having to lay low for any amount of time, whether it's a day, a week, a month, or even a year, that's completely normal. The enemy will try to make yourself and others think that perhaps you've been defeated, or perhaps you've had to sit down or whatever. But the Lord is saying it's actually the complete opposite. You're actually, say you were at a level 6 or 7, when you go away, the Lord refines you and you battle the enemy and you realign yourself and you just come back stronger. The Lord stokes the fire. So the fire that this gentleman has, he had it when he was last on YouTube. He went away for 4 months, focused on his career, some other things. While he was away, he was fighting the enemy because he's a true chosen one. He was learning things. He was battling. He was strategizing. Because of that, the Lord stoked his fire during that whole time. So when he came back, he was hotter than ever. When he left, he was 300 degrees. He came back 450, right? And he'll leave again in, say, 2 months, and he'll come back at 550. As you're away, the Lord is stoking your fire. Even with myself, when I have to go away, the Lord has pulled me away so I can go and battle and defeat the enemy, like I've done several times, like I've been doing for 40 years on the planet, right? This isn't new. I didn't just start doing this in 2020. I've been battling the enemy my whole entire life. So the Lord will take myself and other chosen ones away to go and take our time to strategize like we would in, say, some sort of no different if you're playing a sports game, a basketball game or a football game or something. The teams aren't just out there going hard, and that's it. Well, that game's done. They take breaks. They go to practice before the game comes up. They strategize on their plays. They talk about what the enemy's going to do. They study past footage of the enemy. They record games and study how their opponent moved. And then they're like, well, this team does this, and they're known for this, so we're going to do this in deep, like offense, defense, right? So that's the thing, is the best defense is a good offense. So myself being chosen and himself being chosen, other chosen ones, and if you yourself are chosen and find you're having to take a break from something, that's not because the heat got too hot and you couldn't handle it. It's because the Lord is going and heating you up further to go toe to toe, because you're going to put your best offense is the best defense. So you're going to go on offense now. So while you're behind the scenes, you're doing what you do best, which is battling the enemy. The Lord will stoke your fire during this time that you already had, because your flame never goes out when you're chosen. You know, it never goes out. Even if it dies down, the Lord breathes air into it, breathes life into it, and stokes that flame back up again. And before you know it, you're hotter than ever. And then you come back. The enemy tries to take you down and take you out because he can't have. He's like trying to pour in big buckets of water. This is of course metaphoric, but big buckets of water on your flame because he can't have you trying to help and teach and speak to the masses about how he moves, right? So then when you feel like your flame is dying down a bit, the Lord doesn't go, well, I'm just going to see how you do there and let you just hang out while some more water gets dumped on you. No, the Lord pulls you out, sets you over here, gets you focusing on other things. You battle the enemy, you go against, you do what you do best as a true chosen one. The Lord stokes your fire up, whether this takes days, weeks, months, and then he puts you back in the ring again. And you press repeat and repeat until the enemy realizes that every time he thinks that he's put out your flame, he's going to eventually see that you just come back hotter than you did before, right? So there's never a defeat when it comes to the chosen ones. They're never defeated, ever. Defeat to me means complete, done. Like that's it. The chosen ones may suffer some setbacks, but that's just to come back and realign and redesign things better, bigger and better than it was before, right? The chosen ones never suffer a pure and total defeat. So if you yourself are finding yourself having to take a step back for whatever reason, the enemy's going to come and try and tell you and put in your mind and into the minds of others that you've been sat down. But just know that it's actually the opposite. The Lord is standing you up taller than you were the moment previous, right? It all is divine strategy, okay? And anticipate, learn what you need to learn, go through what the Lord's putting you through, the refiner's fire, as he says, so that when he brings you out, they like to say you're refined like gold, pure as gold, or like a diamond, but I like to say yes, but I also like to say that you're coming back hotter than you were before because you just went in the fire. Think about it. If you take a bun and it's normal room temperature and you put it in the oven for 10 minutes and you take it out, it's hotter than it was before, is it not? That's what the Lord is doing to you. And so the enemy's like, oh, see, I threw them in the flames, I threw them in the fire, now they're going to burn, and now they're defeated. No, that's what someone with a checkers mindset would think. But someone with a chess mindset knows and understands, no, this is me re-strategizing. The best defense is a good offense. I'm following what I'm supposed to. I'm going to come back more polished, more refined, more hotter, more brilliant than I was when I went in, right? So think it not bad. It's actually a good thing, right? It's the Lord working for you. And on another note, if you see it going on with those around you where they're taking time off and you have this thinking that, oh, they've been defeated, the enemy's brought them down, don't listen to that either, because that is the enemy as well, trying to trick you and make you think wrong about you and wrong about others, right? That's not it at all. If someone claims they're chosen and they're consistently never taking a break, just every day they're spitting content, I would scratch my head at that, to be perfectly honest. I would, because in my experience, myself being chosen, I know the Lord, takes me down and sets me down and makes me, regroup and realign, and he always brings me back hotter than I was before. Then I know that when I come out and do what the Lord has tasked me to do since I was born, what my gifts are, I know the enemy's going to come at me all over again, and he's going to play those same stagnant 10-15 cards that we talked about. And so because I already know that, I prepare accordingly. My best defense is a good offense. So my defense to the enemy playing his sickness card is I just make sure that my health is in top shape. My best defense and the enemy trying to pull me away from the Lord and try to come between me and my faith is to just, go into a fast or to try to worship more or to meditate on the word. Like I trump him by knowing what he's going to do, and I do what I do times 10. And because he's limited in what he can do, he tries to make you feel that you're limited. And this channel today, that's what he was taught. His word for today was he was talking about how for his whole life, for like 30 years of his life, the enemy was trying to put him in this limited mindset where he could only do this and he could only be this good and he could only achieve this much. And there was like this cap, right? Very like, you're good, but you're only going to be this good. And you're happy, but you're only going to be this happy. And you'll have money, but you're only going to have this much money. Like, the enemy tries to keep you in a box and limit you so that you're trapped, so that you're oppressed, so that you have no options, right? And he was saying that he's a true chosen one, and he realized that the enemy had been doing that his whole life. And once he figured out through enough warfare and the enemy playing the same hand over and over and over again, at one time he was playing checkers, but he graduated to chess, but the enemy was still stuck on checkers, because the Lord will never graduate the enemy. He's stuck where he's at, so he wants you to be stuck too. But because this channel creator decided that he wasn't going to be stuck there anymore, and he figured out the enemy's plays, he played accordingly. Now he knows how the enemy moves, and he moves accordingly to that. And every time he comes back, even after his break, he comes back more and more successful and with more heat than he had before, because he's truly chosen. So therefore he's moving as the Lord requires, right? It's the same thing with myself. The Lord, I can recognize that. Chosen recognizes chosen. He's chosen, so he sees how I operate. I'm chosen, so I see how he operates. Chosen recognizes chosen, right? So because he's chosen, I see that, I get that, I can understand that. I'm chosen, so I move the exact same way. I get that, I understand that. And if you yourself are chosen, then you'll also relate to what I'm saying as well, right? So if you see other chosen ones being taken away for a while, yes, true, some of them aren't genuine, and that's the Lord removing them. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about those that really truly are genuine, and they always seem to come back spitting more fire than they were the time before. It's because during their time of being away, their time of separation, distance, and even your time away from family members and relationships and things like that, these things, they always come back around in a stronger capacity than they were before, because of the fact that you obeyed the Lord, you moved accordingly. Your best defense was a good offense, so you moved offensively to move defensively, right? So just know that if you're finding yourself sat down or pulled away, it's not a permanent thing. You're not defeated. Ignore the enemy. Rebuke him now in Jesus' name. You are doing what a chosen one's supposed to do. It's like the enemy getting in a baby's head and saying, you're never going to walk. You're only going to crawl. You're never going to walk. You're only going to crawl. And the baby's like, no, I'm crawling now because I'm supposed to. That's how it works. That's how things go. Then eventually, when I'm stronger and the time, the Lord says the time, some babies walk at 10 months, some babies walk at 1.5 years, right? It just depends. When the Lord says it's time, I'm ready to walk, I'm going to walk. I'm not going to crawl forever. And the fact that I'm crawling is right. That's what I should be doing. I'm doing what the Lord intended for me to do, right? I know that's a silly example, but I think it effectively, makes mention of what I'm trying to say, is that you wouldn't sit there and think, well, that baby is defeated. They're never going to walk. They're stuck crawling forever and ever. You wouldn't think that. And if the enemy came and tried to tell you that foolishness, you wouldn't even entertain it. But that's how foolish and ridiculous it is when the enemy tries to say these things to you. Oh, you're never going to get more money than you have now. Well, yeah, I will. I just need to wait until I'm done school and then I'll have a better career, you see? Or, oh, you'll never have a good relationship with your family. Well, yeah, I just need to take some separation break right now and some distance as per the Lord's requirement. Battle you, get rid of you and your foolishness and nonsense, and then I can come back stronger than I was before and maybe work out some of the issues we have, right? These are just examples. So the Lord just wanted me to put out this word. He led me to this gentleman's word today, and he was talking about how, he was apologizing that he took a long break, but that, YouTube isn't his main and only focus, which I can relate. And that while he was gone, he wasn't just, eating chocolate bars and watching TV. He was battling the enemy, right? He was re-strategizing. And as a chosen, you're continuously getting thrown in the fire So whether the Lord throws you in the fire and the enemy tries to use that to bring you down, or the enemy throws you in the fire and he tries to act like he's won or he's victorious, but then the Lord turns around and uses that all in your favor so that when he pulls you out, you're better than you were before, and you just take the enemy down 10 times harder than you did last month before you went in the flame. You see, either way you cut the cake, it comes out with you victorious, right? And the enemy knows that. So all he can do throughout your life is just play these same stagnant 10, 15 cards. And if he plays one or two of these cards and they're not successful at that time, he doesn't stop. He just sets them down for safekeeping and goes back and pulls them out at a later date. So say that you end up getting sick, just say a month down the road. Well, then he's like, oh, they're sick now, time to play this poverty card. Oh, they lost their job because the Lord wants them to get a new job. The Lord doesn't like that job because they deserve more money and better. God has plans for them next year. Oh, so because of that, they're in between jobs and they're a little low in the finances. Oh, time to play the sickness card. So that's why they say all bad things come in threes. No, Satan just comes in threes. He's, if you're already suffering with sickness and then your car breaks down, no, that's because Satan's playing that card. If you're already suffering, with problems at your job or whatever, and then you have problems at home with your family or your kids, no, that's just Satan playing that card. Because he constantly plays these cards 24/7. That's why you have to stay strong against him, right? And that's why when the Lord is trying to pull you to go sit down or to take a break from work or days off or whatever, you need to move accordingly, because that's not the Lord is saying that some people see that as a prideful thing, no, if I take time off work, that'll show that the enemy's won, or the people at my job that the enemy's working through, that I can't take what they're doing, I need to go take a break from it. The Lord is saying that some people are seeing that as weakness, that when the Lord is wanting them as true chosen ones to go sit down, they're seeing it as that they cannot, because then that would prove them as weak, or that the enemy has the upper hand. But the Lord is saying that not only is that pride, that's coming, Satan doesn't want you to go sit down and take the break, because he knows what I'm saying is true, that if you follow accordingly, that you will come back stronger, and he can't have that. So therefore, he will try to deter you from taking the break or following the Lord's instructions and obeying the Lord, simply because it's not in his benefit, right? Because he knows he only has these limited 10 cards, and he wants to keep you in that limited mindset. So if you go away into the fire like the Lord's directing you to as a chosen one, then you're going to backtrack away from him and come back better than before. So therefore, he will try to put pride in you and make you think that if you obey, that it's somehow to your detriment, right? But the Lord is saying that you have to rebuke that, because not only is that prideful thinking sinful, but it's also wrong. It's delusional. The enemy works in delusion, right? So to think that is incorrect. That's like thinking 3 + 3 is 10. It's not correct pattern of thinking. The Lord is saying instead, if you want to show you're victorious and show those around you that they didn't win against you, that your best bet then is to follow the Lord's guidance and go and take the break from the channel, or go and take the break from work, or the break from the relationship. Because during that time, yes, the enemy will try to go, haha, see, we win, but the truth of the matter is that the Lord always wins, that's stacked against them. So then you go away and you sit down like the Lord intends, you follow through what he wants you to do, you battle, you strategize, you realign, all that. Then you come back stronger than you were last month, and now your people at your work and your enemies are like, what the heck, right? So the Lord is saying that it's actually counterintuitive, to think that way. So don't fall into that. That's another trap that the enemy is trying to lay for you, is to think that when the Lord's guiding you away, that's some sort of slight against you or something. And he's also trying to make you think that towards others, that when others are following the Lord's guidance because they're chosen and you're chosen, same exact thing, that's some sort of a burden, right? But it's not. It's in your best interest, and the enemy knows that, so he tries to keep you from doing that, right? So The Lord was also highlighting to me about Job. There's many people in the Bible that were chosen, right? And as we know, Job was chosen. He was chosen to go through basically the enemy's sifting, right? And that's the thing too, is that's the great word there. So the enemy's been trying to sift you, and the Lord doesn't want you to get sifted, or he says that's enough sifting. He calls an end to the sifting, and he tries to get you to go away, sit down and go rest, so that you can not just, like I said, sit and watch TV, but so that you can re-strategize and rebattle to come back stronger and better than before. We see this exact example in the book of Job. The devil wanted to sift Job, and the Lord said, sure, I will grant the permission, because that's the thing, the enemy can't do nothing without the Lord's okay. And Job was chosen. I'm chosen. This channel creator is chosen. You are chosen. Those that are chosen understand that as long as you're living, the enemy's going to consistently try to sift you. Sometimes the Lord will say, no, you're not sifting. Other times the Lord will say, okay. And generally, if the Lord allows it, it's because he wants to teach you something, right? Or that, but he also wants to use you to teach others something, right? So, for instance, with this channel creator, when he went away for 4 months, the Lord allowed the devil to sift him. But he came back, like he has several times before, stronger than previous, because after the Lord has said enough sifting, he then restores you, right? And makes you in a better position than you were prior to the sifting. So now he's come back even hotter than he was before. So therefore, Satan's sifting was useless. Like, it wasn't, because it taught him things and he's able to teach me and others, but it didn't go the way that Satan wanted it to. His efforts and endeavors came up fruitless, right? And they always do, because he's a loser. And, you know, those that work for the enemy are losers too. You're never going to win if you work for Satan. So going back to Job, so yes, the Lord granted permission to sift Job. So Satan sifted him and took everything away. But then in the end, Job got everything back he lost times 10. He had more livestock back at the end. He had more abundance back at the end. He had more children back at the end, right? Everything he lost, he got back into a better capacity than what he had had at previous. So the Lord was highlighting to me that he was saying, like, the book of Job, Amanda, highlights this message very clearly, as in that Job was a chosen one. You're chosen, and those that are chosen that come across your channel and listen to other chosen ones, they are like you, where Satan asks to sift them on a continual basis. When and if I do allow such sifting, I always ensure that, just like with Job, that chosen one always comes back better than they were prior to the sifting, right? So I hope this makes sense. Job had to take a break away from things as well, you know, and he just had to focus on things from up above, focus on the Lord. He had his friends trying to suggest and say that he must have done something that caused this sifting. He had his wife trying to say, oh, you see, God doesn't care, you know, he's not a good God, he doesn't love you, rebuke him now during this sifting. He was watching every single thing that he held close and dear crumble at his feet during this sifting. But at the end, Job saw everything restored. And me, as a reader of that story, I see that Job was restored. And you, as a chosen one, and if you're not familiar, the Lord is saying, please go read the book of Job in the Bible and see what he went through, and, you know, how tough things got for him sometimes. And the Lord is saying that Job had to take a separation, you know, kind of just like go to his own way, away from the friends, away from his wife, away from everything, and basically come up with a good defense, which the best defense is a good offense. So he had to come up with a good defense, and his best defense was a good offense. And so therefore he had to go, and throughout the book of Job, he's like having these very vulnerable, like pleading, sorrowful conversations with the Lord, right? And saying, like, why have you done this to me, Lord, you know? And so God is saying that it's also normal to, while perhaps you may go through the sifting, to, have some hard moments and times. Everybody has. And that's the whole point of it, is that, think about it. Do you think when you're putting, something in heat, it's enjoying it? Like it's intense, right? So, and the pressure to make a diamond is intense. The heat it takes to cook food from raw to cooked is intense. For the things Job went through was intense, right? And for you to go through what the Lord has for you as a chosen one, that's also intense. The Lord knows that as a chosen one, there's intense pressure and heat that comes with it, that whether Satan brings it to your table via the Lord granting it, or the Lord brings it to your table, either way, it doesn't matter. That pressure and heat that you go through is chosen to be refined and, made better than before. That's intense. So if there's times that you're like Job, where you have those frustrated moments, again, the enemy's going to try to come in and make you think that he won. And that's, the enemy was using Job's wife by saying, just forsake God, just rebuke God. He's obviously rebuked you, but that's not the case. That's not what happened, because in the end, God came through, right? And he had a point and a purpose to it. Yes, Job had to go through some hardship at the time, because he had to realign and re-strategize how he was going to continue to live his years out with the enemy, because it didn't say that after the sifting Job died. It said, no, the sifting happened, it ended, and then Job was restored. So the Lord knew he was going to restore Job and give him back more years and more life than he had before, which is exactly what happened. Say prior to the sifting, Job was going to live 80 years and have a meager life. But due to the sifting, Job got to live 150 years and have 10 times the life. So it was worth it, I would trade in $100 to get back 1,000, right? That's the same thing, is that, if you think you're losing $100 and there's no recompense, you're not going to want to do that. But if I tell you that if you give me 100, I'm going to give you back 1,000, you'd be willing to make that trade. Well, that's what happened. Job didn't know it, but he was making a trade. He was trading in what he had that was limited for what was unlimited. And while he went through the sifting process and the refining, he had to do this ebb and flow of coming back, going away, coming back, going away. And why this even happened in the first place was because he was chosen. But eventually the Lord's strategies came through at the end. It made manifest. And just like with chess, it may take time to play a game of chess, but the Lord will always win in the end, no matter how long the game takes, no matter how many plays the enemy thinks he can make, right? And Job is a testament to that. So the Lord was just reminding me today that, like, Job was chosen, I'm chosen. I can always look to the word in the book of Job for references, right? And this content creator that I've been talking about, he also was chosen. And so just because he goes away for a while, that's to be expected. That's a part of being chosen. And he understands that, and so do I. When I go away for a while, same thing. We aren't laid down. We aren't defeated. We're actually the opposite. We're battling and coming back victorious, which is exactly what he's done with his reappearance, right? He's came back just as hot as he was before, if not hotter. And it'll probably happen again. I'm expecting him to go off again in a couple months. I might go off you might go off in a couple months. So if the enemy is sifting you at this time, that's to be expected. And if the Lord is leading you to take time off or to step back or step away, that's to be expected. Please follow his leading and his guidance, because that's what you're supposed to do as a chosen, for one. And for two, it's for your best interest and benefit in the end. You will come back bigger, better, stronger, hotter than you were prior to. Just like this content creator did, and just like Job did. So it serves a purpose. So the enemy will always end up defeated, but the chosen ones never do. And even if the enemy works very hard day and night like he does to put their flame out, it will never go out. And even if it starts to get a bit low, the Lord pulls them back and goes and stokes their fire back up and heats them right back up, hotter than before. So all things lost come back, and just know that the enemy can only ever play a limited game of chess. He has limited moves, limited cards to play. And if you go through it long enough, the process, you will start to see how the enemy plays, like how he moves. And the Lord is saying that's very vital as a chosen one, is learning those plays. Because how are you to beat your opponent at checkers or chess, but especially chess, if you haven't figured out not only how you're going to move, but how they're moving, so that your next move can be moved accordingly. You always want to stay 2 steps ahead. And with the Lord, you do, right? So anyway, I hope this helps somebody. I hope it finds you well. I hope it makes sense. I hope it registers to you as a chosen one. If those who have ears to hear, right? If you're chosen, you'll know exactly what I'm trying to say. And those that are new to the journey, this is just my way of giving you some insight of trial and error. I've been through trial and error, so I put out my insight of things that I've uncovered to try to help other chosen ones. And this content creator that I follow, he's a chosen one, and he also puts out messages to help chosen ones. So it's a domino effect. You know, he's been through what he's been through. He puts messages out. The Lord guides him to. I tune into him. The Lord leads me to him. I listen to him. I take, you know, his perspective into consideration, you know, his experiences. I can relate and parallel them to my experiences. Then I go and I create my content for those that, you know, come across it that may be also in similar experiences. So one helps another. So I hope this finds you well. Take care and God bless.